Good afternoon, my name's David Kreutzberger and I'm Sales Representative for Doubleday Sales Representatives, and I look after the area around Bourne and Stamford, Billingborough and as far as Peterborough for the depot here at Swineshead. And today we're going to have a quick walk around this Vaderstad Topdown cultivator that we've got parked here. As you can see at the moment, the machine is in the transport position. We're just going to leave it like that for a little while, just so as it's easier to see the different elements within the machine. So the Vaderstad Topdown has been in the Vaderstad range for over 15 years. I think first came out in 2004. It is an extremely adjustable machine and very versatile cultivator. It can be a primary cultivator, or it can also be a secondary cultivator. And we can adapt the machine to many different situations and cropping types. So in front of the machine obviously is a drawbar. This is fully adjustable drawbar, and we need to adjust that to keep the machine level whilst in work. We'll look at how we do that in a moment. The first element, the working element of the machine, is the disc assembly on the front here. This is system disc aggressive, and these discs are on a cast arm. The bearing is greased for life, you don't have to grease that. It's extremely durable and very long lasting, and partly the reason for that is the suspension at the top here. We've got 4 massive rubber rollers that give the whole arm suspension when it's in work, and that also helps to get penetration across the whole profile of the soil that you're trying to cultivate, whether it's wheel tracks or other undulations in the ground. We can follow that and maintain a fairly even depth of penetration. The idea of the front discs is merely to move the top couple of inches of soil and to shear off all the plant roots and debris to mix it in. We then move on to the second element of the machine, which is the tine assembly. The tines are mounted onto the main frame. The depth actually is adjusted by the wheel frame, but the tines do move on the frame on a hydraulic release on the safety brake back here, should they encounter any hard objects, stones and the like. There's a 700 kilos breakout force can be here, so quite a lot of force generated there in the tine element. We're going to look at some of the tines that are available for it and look how that can be adjusted for the different work. Here is the main lift assembly, coupled to the ram on the front, which lifts the machine up parallel to the ground. At the moment the transport stops are in, and we'd recommend those are in if you're going to be working on the machine or transporting it any length of time on the road. At the back here we've got levelers. People wonder really what these do. If you take them off, you'll soon find out they are doing something. These follow behind each tine and are filling in the V left by the tine in the cultivated ground and avoids any ridging. And one feature of the Topdown is that it leaves an absolutely tabletop level finish. At the back here we've got the heavy double packer. This can be fitted with a scraper. This one doesn't appear to have one, but this is in a double ring arrangement, and the front roller keeps the rear roller clean, and then you can have a scraper assembly in the back of the packer. So now we're going to unfold the machine and then talk about it a little bit more in detail. So starting now, we've got the machine unfolded in the work position, and we'll start at the very beginning. We'll look at the drawbar. Here is a Charmuller bolt-on drawbar, which can be changed for ball and socket drawbar of various hole sizes, or a pickup hitch drawbar, or just an ordinary Cat 4 pulling ring drawbar. The drawbar is important because it maintains the angle of the main frame, which we always want to be level, parallel to the ground, and we do that by a combination of things. So to achieve the correct angle at working depth, we select and add or retract these shims on this piece of the ram here, but also to give us a range that we can adjust and work with. We have an adjustment on the main stay here to adjust for different heights, drawbar heights of tractor, so that we can accommodate all sizes and manner of tractor heights. Main control block here, which all the hydraulics are activated from the cab, apart from setting pressure on the release of the hydraulic tines, so we can adjust the pressure, and there's a gauge here which shows the pressure, and we adjust that. It's a one-off thing, you just adjust it so that it's right for the working conditions you're in, which is usually the maximum. The other thing that we can do here is we can lift and lower the packer, and we do that to add and remove shims. Front business end of the top down, the system disc. These are true cut 470mm discs. You can have the 450mm standard Vaderstad carrier disc on here, and we can use the front end here basically as a carrier to move all of the soil. There's a 12.5cm distance between the discs, so at working depth you will move the whole profile of soil, shearing off all those weed roots and mixing quite tall vegetation in. The depth is easily seen from the cab. It's a very simple system, but it's very durable. It's just a marker on the lift arm there. The actual tines themselves are fitted with a split point and shin arrangement. These are the later version of legs, as you would expect on a demonstrator. They changed, I think, in about 2008, 2009 to this split arrangement, which is actually more cost effective to run and a better angle for the time. These edge shins are turning the soil in, so we're not throwing out a huge amount of soil as we're going along, because you will be using the top down at quite high speeds. At the moment it's fitted with 50mm points. These are marathon points, and marathon means that they've got a tungsten tip on them. Tungsten tips on these are expensive, but once you've fitted a set, most people don't go back because they do last so very, very long. We can operate up to about 30 centimeters deep, 10 inches, 12 inches. The machine at the moment, in this way it's been unfolded, is not sitting on the wheels at all. The wheels are completely lifted up, and you would use this if you wanted to exert maximum force on the rear packer for reconsolidation. You can run the machine carrying some of the weight or all of the weight on the road wheels, and obviously you can use those around when you're turning at the ends. The rear packers are hydraulic activated by a ram here, and these are quite important to help us get a level finish. When we're starting out with a machine in the field, probably back them off, as they are in this case, start work and gradually bring the discs into work, and then have a look at the levelers here, and then you can gently lower them and start to create your level finish. And then at the back of the machine is the double packer. This is heavy duty steel packer mounted in rubber mountings. Vaderstad uses this type of system a lot, and it saves a lot of wear and tear on the bearings and shafts assemblies. We use this double packer a lot. There is also a double soil runner, which is almost like a tireless little rim of a wheel, and the idea of that is it builds up the soil in the soil runner, and then there's no wear on the metalwork. It's purely the wear on the soil. Comes complete with full lighting rig, ready for transport regulations. The machine, when folded, is 3 meters wide, so it's within the standard transport width. It is available with brakes if you want, you can order it from the factory with fitted brakes on the machine. When we're talking about the wearing parts and replacement parts, it's important to note that we obviously only recommend that you use genuine Vaderstad components. We can usually give a very competitive price on these. Vaderstad are very good at giving promotions that may be included possibly with an inspection of the machine or something along those lines. And one other thing that you should note is that the discs, no one makes discs or gets discs from the Vaderstad factory, because Vaderstad own their own factory. I've been there, I've seen it. They make and press their own discs and then harden them in their own patented facility. And these discs are as hard as is possible to make metal without it breaking. And they, as such, Vaderstad are so confident in this process that they offer a lifetime guarantee on the disc. If it should need replacing due to failure or cracking, then they will replace it free of charge, whatever its age. So now we're going to talk about some of the attachments you can put onto the top down. As we said at the beginning, the machine has been around since 2004, and part of the reason for its longevity and versatility is the various points and shins and other options that you can fit onto the top down. One of them are conventional, is an 80mm point. The machine, as you see it unfolded here, is fitted with 50mm points. This is 80mm. It's clearly wider. It will create more disturbance, more boil in the soil. It will mix in and get rid of a lot of vegetation very quickly. That said, 50mm is probably the most popular option as people are moving away from so much movement of soil. This is available with conventional metal, or also the tungsten marathon point. And the marathon points, whilst they do cost quite a bit more, 6 times more than the standard point, they will last 10 times as long, guaranteed. And machines are available from the factory with marathon points installed, and most of them, as this one has, we do specify with marathon points now. This is something a little bit different. This is a break-in point, and the idea of this is that the very tip of it penetrates the soil quite a bit deeper than the standard point, which is creating the movement of soil. This is purely penetrating to create drainage channels. So we'll get drainage channels across the profile working with the machine, and also then above it all the soil is turned and mixed. So that's a break-in share, tungsten coated, marathon. Some of the slightly more different options. This is a deep loosening attachment that actually goes onto the back of the tine down here, and will cultivate about 6 inches below the normal depth. And the idea of this, and we would call it a subsoiler, that's what we call it, and that can be used mainly on the rear legs, because they are working the least hard of any of them, and they will penetrate more then because the rest of the soil profile has been disturbed. And they are very often used in conjunction with a low disturbance shin that actually goes on here and is in the form of a bull nose, and that creates very little soil movement when used with the narrow points, and is often used actually for putting oilseed rape in, because one of the additions that you can have to this machine is a bio drill, and the bio drill will be mounted on the drawbar, so it's easy to get at, easy to fill, easy to keep your eye on. The pipes will be fed down the machine, and the seed are distributed just in front of the rear press. And I do have several machines out fitted with Vaderstad bio drills, and they can be used for putting oilseed rape or cover crops that are becoming increasingly more popular. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that presentation and learnt a little today, and it's been a pleasure to tell you all about this machine.